quite a success is Ocean Nodes, which we launched in August, and I'll let the guys fill you in with the numbers that we have reached in now in November. So let's welcome Jamie Hewitt and Bogdan Fazakash from Ocean Protocol.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's actually fantastic just to see so many faces here, so many people turning up. We had some wonderful talks this morning, and I really loved just hearing about the awesome visions of the future that Trent and Ben have. So yeah, we're here to talk about Ocean Nodes. Yeah, I had a lot of conversations even with some of you guys already this morning. I realized that a lot of people here that know Ocean, but like Ocean's been around for a while, and I realized that sometimes it's good to do a quick refresh on what Ocean's all about. So I'll start very much at the beginning. And just talk a very quick introduction, a couple of sentences about what Ocean is, and then we'll really go deeper into the nodes. So Ocean is basically about solving a core problem with access to data. We've got a lot of guys that are like enterprises, we've got lots of data, maybe they don't know exactly what to do with it. And we've got lots of data scientists who are super excited about the future of AI and developing NGI. We want to bring those two guys together. So how exactly do we do that? We do that by creating the monetization layer. Yeah, here we are. So Ocean is all about monetizing data. Sometimes there's a little bit of confusion that people think we're about data storage. We provide access to data storage, but the data will be actually stored on the likes of Arweave, IPFS, other decentralized storage protocols. But Ocean is all about the monetization of data. So, yeah, so how exactly do you monetize the data? There are two ways of doing that. One is very simply just buying and selling data. So that's like the sort of marketplace type opportunity. We have our own marketplace. It's kind of somewhat similar to an eBay style way of accessing data. But something that's actually slightly more interesting for a lot of people is what we call computer data. So computer data basically is a way of monetizing data that otherwise couldn't be shared. So if you can imagine data that's perhaps too sensitive, maybe it's something that like GDPR prevents you from sharing, this gives you a way where you can actually monetize it, because what happens is that data will sit behind a firewall, we'll send the algorithm to the data set, run it on the data set, and then you'll get back your results. So essentially that means you could have something like healthcare records that you definitely don't really want to share and send someone a CSV. But if someone asks a question like, what's the average age of a patient that's been diagnosed with X? Well, okay, yeah, we put that in an algorithm. That's perfectly feasible. We can run that on our data and we can monetize it. So now, before we get into too much about Ocean Node, let me just sort of touch very, very briefly on what the previous stack used to look like. So all I wanted to say basically was there's a whole bunch of other different things. Like you don't need to know what all of those different things are on that list, but it was somewhat fragmented. We're not all of that positioned in the same language. Everything, different repository there on that list had a different set of documentation. And we were answering a lot of questions by people that kind of loved the idea of the Ocean Stack, but they were going to get stuck somewhere along this process. So we basically said to ourselves, we've got to make this easier for people. We've got to make it so easy that everybody can just basically run everything in just one simple command. Like I'm sure you've got some developers in the room, and one of you guys, as soon as you approach this, all you want to do basically is npm run I, npm run build, npm run start, and you don't have to think about it. We also have a Docker script. You just run the script, ask you a couple of simple questions in the command line. What port do you want to expose for HTTP? You answer. What port do you want to expose for peer-to-peer? A quick answer. What's your IP address? And you're done. It's running. Simple as that. So we've made it as simple as possible. And how does Ocean Node fit into the whole stack? So I've obviously got a very attractive looking diagram behind me. I mentioned computer data for a reason. Computer data is super important because computer data actually runs on the node, okay? But it's not just computer data that runs there. Basically, our stack is the following. To give a kind of simplification, we have at the kind of very base level the smart contracts. Smart contracts, the immutable part of the code run on blockchain. Now, that handles things like the publishing of the metadata about the assets. It also takes care of the actual transaction when you're purchasing access to that asset. And then on the furthest other layer, we have essentially front-end components and front-end libraries. That's what people see, that's what they interact with, that's what you use if you want to build a new app that's based on Ocean Protocol. Now, everything in between, everything that's not handled by the smart contracts is handled by Ocean Node. So indexing, for example, all the metadata, indexing of the, so indexing of the metadata, the access control. So when you purchase access to the data set, we need to check that you've actually sent the payment token for that asset and it's recent enough that you should still be able to get access to that data set. It also handles the encryption and decryption as well. So that's super important when it comes to monetizing a data set, because in this world, if you've got some valuable data, you don't necessarily want to trust somebody else with your encryption keys to take care of the encryption and decryption. So you will handle that on your own node. And that was even before we built Node, was the main reason people even wanted to run our previous component called provider, is because they wanted to own their own encryption keys. So by creating Node, we basically made that super easy and super simple for people to do. And you can run it pretty much anywhere. So for the enterprises, they love even to run it on-premise servers. They can go into the server room, they can lock it to a physical key. They have that option. And like I said, you also run the computer data environment. So I don't want to go too much into the details. They're also going to be around later on today, so you can come up to us, ask us some questions. But there's a whole bunch of different things that Ocean Node can do. Like there's a whole rabbit hole you can go down of customizations. You want to ask about, do you run different databases? Yes, we do. We can talk about that. Do you offer different storage types? Yes, we do. I've already mentioned a couple, like IPFS. One of the key things that I want all of you guys to take away is that it works on peer-to-peer, meaning it's providing a robust network that can't simply be taken down. It's not like a single point of failure. The robust nature of using the peer-to-peer library creates a whole network of different nodes. And then the other key takeaway, lovely to take away, is that it's also super simple. Like, Bogdan's going to highlight how many people are already running nodes. Like, it's already a huge number, and that's partly because we made the whole process super simple. The other thing that I want to talk about is the fact that it can be a couple of different things. Like, although I'm saying, I can do all this much, you can do this, you can do that, you can also start to remove things as well. So you can run a node that's a lot lighter. So you don't want, for example, to have your own computer data environment. You can turn that off, you can turn this off, you can turn a whole bunch of other things off. So much so that it can run on very, very small different devices. At the moment, I think we're talking about minimum requirements, something like 2 gigs of RAM, 4 gigs of storage. But even that, we know that we're getting a huge buffer zone. It can actually run on less if we wanted it to. And we even got in the pipeline a VS Code extension that will be running a light node in the background using all the sort of next to node resources. Because when we're talking about a light node, basically that's a node just to talk to other nodes in the network. So it gives you capabilities to send out peer-to-peer commands. It doesn't necessarily have to run them there all itself. And then on the furthest other end, you can have a public node which is offering GPUs and it's offering there, to sell to other people, to monetize, as a way of monetizing, resources that perhaps you've got. Another question that I've got a couple of times is that, I can mention the minimum requirements. People talking about where could this potentially run. So, for example, this can run on something so small, so much so that you can run it on your car computer, for example, like on the real edge of the network. And there are use cases. We do talk quite frequently with car companies. You'll probably hear about that more in the enterprise section. But for example, if you could just imagine there's a supplier out there that's building the mechanism for windows to go up and down in a Mercedes-Benz. And for them, it's very useful for them to know exactly how many times that window goes up and down, so they know that not perhaps to over-engineer it. There could be actually a node running on the car that's offering the computer data facility that monetizes that data that you're producing just simply by using your own car. And it does, like I said, it's about a lot of possibilities. So you've probably heard about Oasis Sapphire already today. We love Oasis Sapphire. it's a private blockchain. That means that the actual data within the transaction it's verifiable, but it's all encrypted. So it means basically it's exactly an extra layer of privacy. I'm not going to go too deep down into what Oasis is, because literally all the experts are in this room, in other rooms, and they're doing a whole session of talks in a couple of hours' time. So I'll allow them to go further into that. But at the moment, I'm going to hand over to Bogdan, who's going to talk a little bit more about something that I'm sure all you guys are excited about, which is the rewards that you can actually get from running a node. A couple of guys asked me earlier, like, oh, do I need a license to run a node? Like, do I have to buy something? Do I have to stake something? It's quite the reverse. Nodes are free to run. It's all permissionless. It's all open source, and you actually earn money from operating it. So thanks, Bogdan.
Okay. Thank you, Jamie, for the introduction, and welcome everyone. I'll start with a small disclaimer. So, I'm part of the engineering team at Ocean, and this is my first time on stage, so bear with me if I do some close. What I'm going to talk about today is Ocean Nodes incentive program and some of the tools that we've designed and we've built in support for the community and for Ocean Node runners to get proper insights about the nodes and our current Ocean Nodes network situation. I'll start with the incentives. I just want to put some facts in place. Each week we are rewarding 250k euros as rewards for the nodes runners. And that means around more than $21,000 at the value of the rows today. So we are in the middle of the 11th week of rewards. And that means that we have already had 10 successful rewards that we've distributed each Thursday. I'll go through some historical data so you can understand how our incentives program evolved through time. Because yeah, we had quite a big success since starting rolling out the nodes in August, and yeah, we needed to make some small adjustments to the incentive program, so we incentivize more the performance rather than the numbers. So our first four rounds of incentives, we distributed FAT token, 10,000 FAT tokens each week, and we distributed to all the nodes that were set up in the network. So the only requirement that you had to do to be able to get rewards were to spin up a node and have at least 5 minutes of uptime, or I don't know, 1 minute, doesn't matter. But after that, we've seen an increase in numbers of nodes that were set up by the community, so that encouraged us to go forward with our incentive program. And after 4 weeks of rewarding all the nodes and checking their uptimes, we've decided to move with some smaller changes to our incentive program, and we've added a threshold of 90% uptime for the nodes to qualify for rewards. But this change didn't come along. It was not alone. We had some good news for the community, and we decided to also increase the number of tokens that we were distributing each week, and we moved from 10,000 FAT tokens to 250,000 ROAS tokens each week. That were distributed equally for all the nodes that qualify to the threshold of 90% uptime. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the nodes dashboard. I will start here as well with a small disclaimer. So let's not confuse the nodes dashboard with Ocean Nodes control panel that came along while pulling out the repo and doing the steps that Jamie presented earlier, the small steps. installing the dependencies and running the node. That brings you a dashboard that we call control panel, where you can see how you configure your node, what are the peers that your node is connected to, and other meaningful configs. Also, you can do various actions with that, like downloading logs and stuff. But this has more general purpose. This the audience is the community and the node runners. What you can see is a map where you can see all the nodes locations. As you can see, so far we were not able to reach Antarctica, but yeah, we are trying to get there. But as you can see, we have nodes in Iceland or in the Caribbean, so yeah, at least we've reached that so far. But yeah, the year is not finished yet, so maybe we will have some nodes in Antarctica as well. And a table where you can find all the nodes in the network and see how they are configured, what are their uptimes, if there are any eligibility checks and so on. And now you're going to be one of the lucky ones to see a preview of how the V2 version of the dashboard is going to look like, because this is one of the cool announcements that we are going to show today. So the new version of the dashboard and some cool announcements related to the incentive program. Hey. Okay, so this is the new dashboard that's going to be rolled out soon. It's going to have multiple stats, analytics that are going to be useful for the community and the node runners. I will go through some of them. As you can see, we've also ported some of the existing tools that we have, like the map with the nodes, the tables, but you're going to have other meaningful informations. And I'll start with the number of nodes. As Tatiana mentioned, we released Ocean Nodes in August. And since then, we are able to tell you that we have more than 91,000 nodes at the moment in the network. Yay. I will do this applause not for me. This was a hard teamwork that was needed to put everything together. So I will send those applause to the team, the engineering team, the marketing team, and the ones who pioneered it. Okay. Hopefully by the end of this week, after DevCon and this event, we are going to reach that target of 100 nodes, 100K nodes in the network. Okay. Regarding the demography of the nodes, as you can see, the nodes are present in 69 countries, almost 70 countries at the moment. And we hope to reach all of the countries by the end of the year. And why we want to do that? Because we want to create a solid and robust network of nodes that will be available to the network. So we have a proper nodes network. The next step that you are going to find is how many nodes were eligible for rewards in the previous week. As you can see, these numbers are related to the week before. So we distributed rewards for more than 1,400 nodes last week. And the number you see after, it's the total rewards we distributed so far. And that's 1.5 million ROS tokens. But the dashboard here doesn't show the previous round of rewards were distributed track. So that means that in 10 weeks that have passed, we've distributed almost 200,000 US dollars value of tokens so far. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good number. And I'm going to have some good news by the end of the presentation related to that. Besides this, this dashboard, it's not in the free screen here, but you'll be able to find like the architecture of the CPUs, the number of CPUs each node has, the operating system of the nodes. So with that, if you want to jump in, spin up your nodes, you will be able to find some meaningful insights to see where's the gap in in the nodes network, so you can fill that gap and maybe qualify for better and more rewards in the future. Yeah, something related to the demography of the nodes. At the moment, the country with the biggest number of nodes is Germany, followed by United States. And on the third, it's Singapore. This doesn't mean 100% that, okay, we have the biggest number of users in Germany. This may also mean that we have some big infrastructure providers in those countries, and users decided to opt for their services to spin off nodes. Here you can also find the number of cities of nodes for each country and the city with the most nodes in that country. And now it's going to be a good news for the ones who are already running nodes or are planning to run nodes. So our friends from Oasis, friends and partners from Oasis, decided to contribute to the rewards we are distributing each week. So they are topping our already existing 250k rows tokens each week with 50k rows each week. That brings us to a total of 300k rows tokens, and that would be around more than $25,000 that we are going to distribute each week. So I encourage everybody, check on this QR code, spin up the nodes, and get this device. Thank you. Jamie, if you want to add something, go ahead.
Wow, that's so cool, isn't it? We're giving away $25,000 every single week, and at the moment, that's just for running a node. So, this in context where I say running a node is actually super simple. It's super easy. I think pretty much any developer can get that running in just a few minutes. If you have any problems, we're here. You can come and ask us. We're happy to help. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Hopefully you've learned a little something. I think it's probably just about what time they need for one question or maybe any remarks. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
If I'm correct with running the light the last possible to run the second one, I will run out my data because I'm running my Supersessions.
Yeah, okay, so the question was, can I run multiple nodes in the same place? Yes, you can, and that's also part of the reason why we're able to rack up 91,000 nodes, is because one person can run as many nodes as they want, and they can get rewards for all of those nodes. And the rewards at the moment are just simply based on uptime. So you just need to make sure that you're running nodes in such a way where you're not going to run out of resources and the thing crashes, because if it crashes, your uptime will go down. So you need to make sure that you've got ideally 100% or as close to that as possible uptime throughout the week, and that the rewards are distributed as a result of that. Okay, let's do another question before we get. Sorry. Yeah, good question. Okay, what about the slashing conditions? Okay, so that's a good question because it implies that you have to do staking. You don't have to do staking, and therefore there is no slashing. There's no barrier to entry here. When I say it's as simple as just running a Docker script and just running it, that's all there is to it. And you can do that. You don't have to stake something. You don't have to worry about getting slashed. That's the question. So, okay, how are we able to give a quality service? Okay, so at the moment, like you say, it's all based around uptime. Okay, this is only 2 months old. But what we will transition into is a situation where we are rewarding not just uptime, but also the compute availability. So that will basically be, rather than just saying, okay, I have a node that's operating and offering a GPU, and that's the GPU for rent. So you'll earn money for renting the GPU, plus you'll get rewards for offering that. And basically what we will be doing is sending out basically test scripts every now and again. We'll pay to run a script on your GPU to check that it actually is what you say it is. So we'll be doing benchmarking. If you meet the benchmark, you'll get the rewards. Cool. Okay. After we finish, I think we've run out of time.
Yeah.
If you've got any more questions, just come up to us at any point during the day. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
include what's on Super Daily. So you had it here first. We're upping our rewards to 300k rows per epoch, which means per week. I don't know, but I will be sending out some notes. So we've got the developers covered now. It's really important that you find out about another stream that Ocean Protocol is focusing on, which is the one for data scientists. And we've got Ray here to talk about something new that we've got prepped for you. Right?
Thank you very much. It's nice to see everybody here. I see some familiar faces that I've spoken to before. So I feel like I've told the story already. The clicker. So I want to thank Jamie for introducing some of the technology. It makes it easy to understand what I'm talking about. I hope you can hear me. And I want to thank Bogdan for the disclaimer idea. So I'm being on with the partner. I'm actually very excited to be here. So, I want to start with a statement that I found funny last week trying to prepare this presentation, and that is, if you torture the data, you will confess to anything. And what I found interesting about that is actually the guy who came up with it, Ronald Kosi. So he's an economist and an attorney from the UK, and this statement was made back in 1950. So it was interesting to see his vision about the importance and value of data, and then he was an IP attorney back then. So it's very relevant in what we do to understand the value of data and protecting the IP that comes with not only the data, but the data scientists, the people who write algorithms and models that run on that data. And that's something essential in what we're trying to do. The picture up there is what most people think data looks like. It sits nicely in the data center, it's very nice and organized.
Yeah.
And I don't want to contradict that, sort of. That's what I thought initially, but I think this is what data looks like. This is a public storage facility where you take things that you don't want to use anymore, you forgot about it, you don't know what to do with them, and you save them for later use. But this is how data sits. Everybody takes it, locks it up, puts walls around it, and tries to figure out how to use it. And that's where ocean technology comes in, because you can come in and start monetizing this data without even opening these doors, without moving the data from there. So that's where CDD comes in, and that's where it is important. We thought about, okay, so we have this data, we have the technology, how are we going to apply it to the real world, right? And so the only way you can extract something out of data is by using the data scientist, because I believe that more important than the data itself is the insights we can get from data. So the data scientists, they will make the data confess. So part of the program was data challenges, and we were trying to show people what they can do with data, right? Because we have the technology, they have the data, but how do you take it out of those storage lockers and bring it out? And firstly, we thought of showing that is to organize data challenges. We pick data that's out there, or we find partners from that data, and we organize a data challenge. And that was a simple concept initially. We just show people what the value of the data they have is, and then further how to monetize it. And initially it was done in the ocean market. And to show the use case, we would publish the data sets on the ocean market, and then we would publish the reports that the data scientists produced on the ocean market. So that was the first step. So it was use of ocean technology in a fruitful way in the real world. And then we thought, okay, how do we take this further? Right? We needed a bright light, we needed a bright mind. So we need someone who can actually think of ways to extract money from this data, right? And how do you do it? Well, you do it by taking the insights to the market and monetizing that. Because like I said, most people don't have the resources and are not able to get anything out of the data, but the insights of the data might be very interesting. That's another, I call it a pillar. So we have three building blocks. We have the data sitting siloed like it is. We have the scientists, and we have some bright minds. And together we thought we make a Web3 incubator or accelerator that allows people to take the data from the silos, work on it, build the algorithms, models, extract insights, and then deliver that to the market via Web3 dApp. And to follow, I'm going to talk about exactly how we're going to do that. And the way we do that is through Ocean Phone. So this is the first time we're talking about Ocean Phone. It's launched today. Although it's been existing in Ocean Protocol as a data challenge program for about 2.5 years, we decided to launch it today. Our goal is to surface data innovation. So the idea is drive innovation. We take data scientists with skills. We take people with ideas, entrepreneurs who know how to take this to market, and we deliver this via Web3 apps that we actually developed internally. It takes us a very short time to put together an algorithm, a data set, and actually deploy it live public consumption. We saw an opportunity here because data scientists want to secure their IP. There's a lot of data challenge programs out there that pay people rewards to participate, but they lose their IP and they start using their algorithms and the models that they produced. And the data scientist never sees anything after that. His work is done. So part of our goal was to empower the data scientist to make him, number one, become more creative, to offer them opportunities to monetize that, and to offer them opportunities to monetize it on a recurring basis. And then what we found is that there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there, people who have good ideas, but they don't have the data, or they might have the data, but it's very hard to employ a data scientist or a group of them to work on your model. So it becomes a very expensive proposition. So that's part of the reason the data sits in those walled storage places. So we looked at what can we do for each one of these groups, and we decided to have a target audience, and we'll select the target audience. And we found out that 80% of data scientists, they're looking for ways to leverage their work. We found out that 65% of innovators are Web3 entrepreneurs who look for platforms to monetize using dApps. And we also looked at academia and academic institutions, universities. They're looking to use decentralized technology to teach their students not only the data science part, but the business part, the entrepreneurship part of things. What are the competitive advantages of what we do? I think there's some key strengths that other people don't have that we do. Number one is compute to data that Jamie talked about. So it's the ability to look at the data without moving it from where it is, without exposing it, and make sure we maintain its privacy. And not only privacy from the standpoint of who owns it, but from the standpoint of regulations like GDPR and regulations around the world. Number two, intellectual property protection. Ocean technology enables us to deploy these apps in such a way that everybody maintains their IP. So the entrepreneur maintains the IP over the solution, the data owner maintains the IP over the data, and the data scientist maintains the IP of the algorithm or model they built that's used in the dApp. And this is done via smart contracts. I'm not going to get into too much detail about that, but that's what happens. And the third part that's very interesting is the ability to take all of this to market via dApps in a very quick, efficient way. And this is done, and I'll get to it actually at no cost to anybody. It's the work. It's done. I just want to talk about the process a little bit, right? So what we do, we go and find high-value data sets. We organize data challenges. We ask some questions, some evaluations criteria. The data set can come from us, something that we sourced out. The data set can come from a partner that we have that is interested to see what is valuable about their data. Or in a lot of cases, it comes from open government data that's sitting there unused. Then we hold the data challenge. After the data challenge, we determine, the winner, the top three. I didn't talk about awards, but we generally pay data scientists with price pools that range between $10,000 and $20,000 per challenge. And then what we do is we take the top three and we offer them the opportunity to work on a model that will be deployed in the app. I also talk about academic partnerships because I think a lot of the bright minds are probably still in school, are still learning. And I reached out a great deal to a lot of universities. I think we established our first such program with the University of Duisburg-Essen in the Faculty of Computer Science as a master's elective course. So we select a few data sets that are of public interest. We give groups of students the opportunity to analyze them, build a business case. Then we hold a data challenge. After we hold a data challenge, the groups of students build a business case together with the data scientists. Then we deliver the data, and then they go on and monetize it. So this is what's called, what they call at the university, entrepreneurship, so innovative entrepreneurship. We're actively looking for more universities, and we're in talks with a few other ones. So we're just starting out. We hope it continues very well. Next step, I want to talk about the first real use case, right? The entrepreneur in this case is actually us. So we looked at real estate data in Dubai. We organized the challenge, and we are trying to build, or we're building an application with that will do predictive analytics, and it will predict the price of specific rental units at X months or X years in the future. And this is based on a lot of attributes of the units that we're looking for. The reason we went to Dubai is because they want to be a blockchain leader. They look at this as a source of pride for them. So I talked to them a great deal. But their current systems lack blockchain integration. They don't have real-time analytics. So a lot of what they do is based on historical price and historical transactions, right? So we're trying to integrate here, in addition to historical pricing, is financial data, inflation, interest rates, and other factors that impact the price. We've actually, I went to Dubai last week. I talked to the Dubai Land Department, I talked to the Ministry of Economy, and there's a lot of interest in that. So I really look forward to working on this app and deploying it. We'll probably deploy it sometime in Q1 next year. I just want to sum up what we've done so far. So in the last 2 years and change, we've paid about $250,000 in rewards to data scientists. We've held 35 challenges that range in topic from analytics in Formula One, predicting number of stops and times used in Formula One. We worked with the government of California on analyzing pollution patterns and traffic patterns and how they impact each other. In Barcelona, in this area, we've worked with the European Union on analyzing French tax revenue and tax patterns and the impact of legislation on revenues drawn from taxes in France over the last 40 years. That was pretty cool. So we've done predicting the value of beef. So we've done a lot of things that are very interesting. Our community has 350 data scientists now. I think in our first challenge, we had 9 people. So we grew quite a bit. We've had over 400 submissions, and the data scientist community spans 40 plus countries. I think that's what I had to do, although it says the end, it's the beginning. You can find my info here, that's my email, Twitter, and our website. I thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Yes.
You mentioned about real estate supplier. I'm not sure real estate projects supplier from big smart doesn't have open data at all. And a lot of the owners of projects would be interested in monetizing the data. And that's the thing you can do to get those people to volunteer the data.
Yeah, actually, Dubai has open data. The Dubai Land Department publishes that. I had the discussion with the Dubai Department last week, actually. And they're looking to monetize that data. Right now, it's available for free. It's open data. And they're asking me, how do we monetize this? And it's very simple. The smart contracts will reward that. They have a fixed amount of the transaction, and every transaction goes to the Dubai Land Department.
Well, for example, I mean, you said about
Sort of, yeah.
okay. So
I'm just getting it in here.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yes.
After that?
Yes. I'm really introducing you.
Same thing with the JNL, CEO regions. So there a way in which you have in mind
Yeah, my focus hasn't been the American market at all. I live in Europe right now, but we don't actually monetize the data. We monetize the insights we derive from the data. So I think it'd be very interesting to them to be able to sell insights without revealing the data. Right? And to further answer your questions, we've done a data challenge, and we've worked a lot on the second project we're doing. I didn't mention that, which is the energy performance of residential buildings in Europe. And there's a lot of data on that. Actually, quite a bit. And each unit is managed by law. There's about 60 attributes for each one. Whether it's apartment, whether it's a house, it goes as far as what type of walls, what type of insulation, how the heating comes in. So we developed an algorithm that is able to take that input of your particular unit and output what improvements you need to make. So it's a series of models. And then we'll predict the energy performance score. I'll show you the savings in gas, electricity, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of data out there, but it's hidden. Like I said, it's sitting in those storage lockers. Any other questions? Yes.
How do you ensure like appropriate like data sharing uses between proprietary data and academic sources? Yes, that's something we struggle with a lot using acquiring the rights to actually use the data.
So the data is not ours, right? The data belongs to the data owner. All we do, we're a vehicle to take that data and the insights to market. So if the owner of the data secures the right to use the data, they can use the data, but we're not the ones to verify that, right? So we are just the vehicle that enables that to happen. Right? So we never store the data, we never have the data, we just use the data where it is under the conditions that they have it. So, of course, when we do it ourselves, we check that the data is open, we check that we can use the data. A lot of what we do is open government data, so if you put open government, we give you a license to use it if you don't resell it as is. So, and we don't resell the data, we just present insights from it, and that's what we're actually encouraging people to do. We're not going to enable anybody to take data and sell it. And that is not what we do. That's a great question.
Okay. Can we provide this data to LLMs? Can we provide the data, let's say, by data access from the marketplace? right? And be able to provide this data to the LLM, for example, and launches their own LLM. Let's say we need a registered information from Dubai, for example. They said some data set is responded to the LLM.
Microphone is there.
Right? Can you give this data to the LLM and then like whatever revenue I make is
We don't, actually, like I said, we don't have the data, right? We just use it. So we use it for insights. So all we do is really, we run the algorithms and the models on the data. And it's not ours and we're never going to transact it. Right? So yeah, the only way to do it is actually, while it's open, right? Get it from Dubai, from other places, or from Europe. And then once they try to monetize it, then, I guess to buy it for the other ones. But yeah, but we're not suppliers. The only way Ocean would be a supplier is if the Dubai department for Dubai decides to publish their data using Ocean technology on the Ocean market, right? So they will be able to do that, and we would be able to purchase it. So it could work that way. It's not something I'm focusing on right now. But
my query is, let's say, if I take the data from the marketplace and then I open source the entire LLM system, then what will happen? I try to buy this data access and then train this data to my LLM and then I open source it and then it goes free to everyone, right? Then monetization cycle will not happen for a long run because we were mentioning about that you can data scientists can make recurring revenue from this whole model, right? So what if like if the data goes to the LLM and if they open source the entire LLM? So that's the thought.
right, I haven't thought about that because I'm not sort of in the business of LLMs. I'm not doing that. So we're just looking at algorithms. All I can say, it depends on the license of the people who own the data. So if they publish the data and make it available for whatever use, then you'd have to talk to them. But yes, yeah, I can't say much more than that.
Yeah, your market is here.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Very good talking.
Thank you, Ray. Obviously, if you guys have any other questions, you can follow up with Ray. He's going to be around here. And you know, we've got a party afterwards as well. So the next talk is about Ocean Enterprise. This is Sheridan is one of the OGs of Ocean Protocol. He's been with the protocol for quite some time, since the beginning. And now he's taking on the task of making the Ocean Protocol stack enterprise ready. So let's hear about that from Sheridan Johns.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Who's staying? Please do. Well, it's not just me speaking to you today. It's also my colleague, Eva Judea, who I will call up in a little bit to talk about Ocean Enterprise as well. But today, if we can switch. Okay, great. Ocean Enterprise. Earlier this year, Ocean Protocol Foundation started an initiative to make Ocean easier to use for enterprise. So we heard in previous two presentations now, Ocean Nodes makes Ocean easier for the community to use. We just heard from Ray about how Ocean Phone makes Ocean easier for data scientists to use. This is an initiative to help Ocean be easier to use by enterprise. So these are some of the topics that we'll be covering today. Certainly we want to let you know why we're doing this, what it is, who is involved, because it's not just Ocean Protocol Foundation. A quick peek into the features that we've started to develop and will also be rolling out over time, as well as some case studies where we actually have some live case studies for initial uses of the implementation, which will adopt Ocean Enterprise in the future. And then, of course, how you can get involved, how you can collaborate and engage and support us in this initiative. So, why Ocean Enterprise? And why this is not formatted correctly, but we'll go with it. Since the launch of Ocean in the late noughts, 2018, there's been lots of interest in Ocean, actually, not only from the community, but also interest from enterprise, from business. So these are some initiatives that we've been involved with, we've been invited to participate in. Many of them are European focused. For example, the Deutsche Bundesbank, X, X, the Move ID. Why? Well, Ocean Protocol is born and raised in Germany. That's one reason. Another reason is Germany is a very stringent market with respect to data regulation, which was also one of the reasons that Ocean saw that as if we can make it in the EU, we can easily transport that outside the EU. So many of these initiatives and consortiums that we've been involved with have all been very excited and interested in Ocean. However, and this is also the motivation behind Ocean Enterprise, there's been a little bit of hesitation, or at least concern, about compliance, mostly data protection compliance, as well as now crypto compliance, but that's also being addressed within the market very stringently. The stability of the source code, as well as the governance of the actual code. So we've gotten many business and enterprise clients or projects interested and excited about the actual technology, but they're hesitant to move forward. And to help them address that, or to help them make it easier for them to use Ocean, we've launched now Ocean Enterprise, or at least the initiative to start to make it easier for enterprise to use Ocean. So, oops. That's basically exactly the premise and the mission of Ocean Enterprise is to provide a free open source enterprise-ready version of Ocean that is collectively owned, compliant, and stable, that is specifically designed for enterprise products and use cases. So we're really building on the backs of what's been built by the community as well as by the Ocean team over many years, but we're taking that and we want to make it easier for enterprise now to use. So, of course, any initiative has grand visions. We hope very much to establish Ocean Enterprise as a leading global standard for enterprise data and AI ecosystems. We've already started. I'll share a little bit of that with you later. But of course, it's going to be a longer process, and we can't do it alone. So, together with the Ocean Protocol Foundation, we now have the pioneer members, if you will, 12 organizations from 8 industries and 9 countries. These are all members who are actively contributing to developing Ocean Enterprise, either have been part of the Ocean community and ecosystem, or are new and have joined and have seen the value that an enterprise-grade version of Ocean Protocol can offer them as well as clients they work with. So we have projects in healthcare, we have projects in manufacturing, we have public sector contributors. We also have some projects in automotive. This is basically coming from our collaboration with Team X. We also have collaborations coming from aerospace, Team Neustar, working with Airbus. And we also have some teams that are working on some human resource use cases. So these who are working together in the Ocean Enterprise Collective, who are working, collaborating together to build Ocean Enterprise. So to give you a little bit of a sneak, or a little bit of a better overview and detail into what Ocean Enterprise has under the hood, I'm going to pass off to the co-lead, AI Dave.
I will will briefly touch upon the features that we ran on the stack. Just for you to understand what we built here is on top of what my colleagues presented earlier, the ocean nodes. So basically we took the stack developed by them and added all these new functionalities that look appealing to the companies. And here they are. First thing is SSI support. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the concept of self-sovereign identities, but this basically is just a step forward in the digital identity. It's a step forward from the digital certificates that everyone is using, every company, and is enabling the scenarios as authentication, authorization, digital signature. We embed this concept into our stack, meaning that in order for the consumer to use an asset, first it needs to identify itself through an SSI verification process, and then he is able to access the data asset once the publisher of that data asset verifies the identity and validates it. Second, data space interoperability means that the description of the services that are exposed in Ocean Enterprise conforms with the generally accepted industry standards in exchanging data and services, such as GAIA-X, self-description. Third point, EU regulatory compliance. Sharon mentioned that this project was born in Germany, which in Europe, which is the most restrictive in terms of sharing data, privacy, and everything. Ocean Enterprise will be compliant with all the recent regulations in this space. Cloud-agnostic design is that the consumers are able to select the preferred cloud providers for computation and storage. Advanced pricing is the pay-per-use for C2D computation jobs. Basically, you will pay as much as you use the data environment. In-money payment, companies will be able to perform payments based on EUR/E and other stable tokens which are accepted by European Union, such as USDC, for instance. Advanced IP licensing, this is very interesting, meaning that you can register a service, you can register an offering which includes multiple services under different licenses and different subscription models. Basically, you can sell the same thing under different prices to different markets. That's an example of how what we can achieve with this feature. And of course, easy customer onboarding, because most enterprises are afraid of the Web3 features. We provided a comprehensive guide on how they can onboard on our platform, how they can register, and how they can access assets provided by the participants in the data space. Next, on product roadmap, we plan to release a new version each 6 months. In terms of releases, the timeline is the following. So we started off with our project back in Q3 2023. We started with the design phase, collecting all the features, requirements coming from our enterprise partners and customers. Right now we are in the second phase of development, and our intention and our estimation is that sometime in next year, at the beginning of next year, we will release the first version of Ocean Enterprise. Then within 6 months, we will release a new version. And I think that in this, I will pass it back to you, Sheila, for the Thank you.
Thank you, Mihai. Yeah, so this is that basically showed you a little bit more what we're working on and Now, if I can get this to work, I guess I'll point it this way. Oh, really? Okay, great. So I want to share just a live case study that is online now as we speak. So one of our close collaborators, Delta Dow, has taken the ocean stack and has also been involved very closely with us with a number of the consortium projects that we've been working in Catena X, as well as Move ID. Catena X was a German automobile consortium and initiative, which was working on the data value chain of auto manufacturing. Move ID is focused on the mobility ecosystems, and here they have been not only involved with those projects, they've also come up with let's say, an initial beta version of what Ocean Enterprise will become, and that's called Pontus X. And here you can see all of the ecosystem members who are actively either operating as validators or have already begun to set up their own data portals and their own data spaces for collaboration purposes, with the intent ultimately down the line to implement and integrate Ocean Enterprise. So the hope is also that, and the idea is that these are the initial adopters, if you will, of Ocean Enterprise. We're very excited about a few of them. Of course, there are big names in there like Airbus, and under the hood here within Oipro Gigant, you have large manufacturing, European manufacturing companies. And so this just shows you that there's already interest and already discussions, active discussions with large and small business and enterprise. So that's kind of our live case study. The interesting, or at least it's the exciting part, is if there is a data space being operated by one of these consortium or collaborators, what can happen is they can easily access data from others if that is deemed so by that operator. So really the ecosystem is there, it's growing, and it's interoperable, which is very exciting for us long term. So these are some more use cases, let's say, not necessarily being actively pursued, but certainly could be pursued. Those in federated analytics, in generative AI, for product innovation, sharing data, also to optimize costs, which for enterprises is a very big issue, as well as research and collaboration. So we see lots of use cases for Ocean Enterprise moving forward. I always get the clicker wrong, so that is kind of what we're doing now. We'd also like to invite others to join us. Because as I said, it's not just Ocean Protocol, it's the Ocean Enterprise Collective. So those who have maybe their own business idea that they need an enterprise-grade version of Ocean to go to market, we're more than welcome to talk to you about that. And we can help work with you to develop an MVP and also promote that moving forward as well. So the collective itself is its own entity. So you might notice that the branding here is a little bit different than Ocean Protocol, which is intentional. We've established a non-profit association in Germany, which is basically collectively governed by all the collective Ocean Enterprise Collective members. And if that's something that you or others who you know might be interested in joining, we're very welcome and glad to talk to you about that. And this is just a quick link, so if you guys want to go to the QR code. We have a live GitHub repos, so you can see at which stage we are, and also join the conversations on social. So thank you for your attention.
So, with us today, we have the first super intelligent AI worker in the world, and you're going to get a demo for that. I'm quite excited to see what's going to happen. We've got Sabine Lima here, the CEO of Humans AI, also created Human, and Razvan Oldanu, COO of Ocean Protocol, to do this demo for you. I'm gonna leave it to them to show this.
Thank you very much, Cassina. Hi everyone, so I'm Razvan. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Ocean Protocol. So hopefully you're not very tired and you'll be as active as possible in our presentation. We talked about ocean technology. We talked about ocean metals. We talked about ocean floating. We talked about ocean enterprise. So probably right now you have quite a good understanding of what the ocean is doing and what type of technology we would like to promote. What I would like to discuss next is that for us, ecosystem is very important. We talked about ocean enterprise before. We talked about all the companies, even though it was quite complicated to get corporates on board, to bypass all the regulations and problems that they are facing, both internally and from their jurisdiction perspective. We talked about community, and what we would like to do is to present that all our partnerships, they have an end. There is a value. What's the value? The value is that we are doing something for the sake of getting the result. And I would like to introduce Sabine again to discuss a little bit about Humans AI and how we believe we can change the world together. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, thank you, Razvan, for the kind words. As Razvan said, my name is Sabine Lima, CEO and founder of Humans.ai. Before the demo, I would like to give you an overview about what we are doing at Humans and how we are trying to change the world. We started this company around 4 years ago. We started as a normal AI company. We switched to blockchain. When one of the first in the industry saying that it's something with AI and Web3, right? So there's a coincidence that two technologies so different were built on the same time, but by two different types of developers. And we did a lot of things. We presented to Oxford, NASA. I met the Prime Minister of India. The VP of NVIDIA visited our office. We are part of a consortium with Berkeley, NVIDIA, and Commonwealth. And 2 weeks ago, we were invited by NVIDIA at NVIDIA Summit in India, and we displayed our flagship product there. And this is not the best picture, but at least it's just under. And what we understood is that, okay, we need help. As humans, enterprises, governments, AI is here to help. But we see broken. And what we know that it's super intelligent, and it will become more and more super intelligent. And you know, we don't test it, but it's not trustworthy. But this is a problem that Ocean is solving, and Razvan can tell you more details how they are doing this.
Yes, from the early beginning, we tried to solve this type of problem, the problem of trust. So the entire technology is based on trust, confidence. That your data, your models are not being stolen by someone and used without your consent or without your knowledge. So what we did, we are integrating together those technologies in order to use our Ocean smart contracts in order for all people to be able to train their models and use their data without the fear of those being stolen. So we are exactly offering this layer of trust into Humans AI technology.
Yeah. But super intelligent, even if we're solving the problem of trustworthiness, this technology is still not proactive. It's isolated, it's not integrating in our lives. It's kept by design, meaning that if I'm dying tomorrow, right, what we are building should evolve in a permissionless manner. And there's one important thing that everybody is so focusing in developing foundational models that we tend to forget about the user experience. And from a product perspective, we are still users in technology, right? So we are still users, and we need to go to a chatbot, log in, and have a conversation. After that, go back to our lives. So we at Humans.ai, what we are trying to do is to create a new species. So I know that it sounds far-fetched, but we had this luxury, let's say, reimagine from scratch how a new species can look, interact in order to really help humanity thrive. So we're building AI humans. And we launched the first AI human 1.5 years ago. Who is from Romania probably know the project. It was technically very political and controversial in the country. But actually, we managed to create the first AI officially hired by a government in the world. It was the first AI council for a government, launched in an official government meeting. But the nice part was that it was recognized as a world premiere in the industry by NPNG, founder of Google Brain, VPs of NVIDIA, partner up with NVIDIA, millions of interaction. It became so popular that even the Prime Minister of India invited me in Delhi. We spent almost 1 hour with him and presented an Indian version of that thing. But the idea is that that was it, right? Super intelligent, actionable, but we need to hire more people, raise more money to make it smart, right? So we picked a cap. And we said, okay, let's decentralize it. So let's open it to others. So everybody can participate and make it smarter. And we launched layer one. The lead from our team managed to bring 50 validators on board. And this is how we managed to create a decentralized AI human. We call it Human One. This is what we're going to demonstrate today. And actually, where is the current state of technology? It's not an out-of-the-shelf product. You still need to configure it. So it's a configurable AI worker that can integrate in our tools. And we launched it live we invited Peter Diamandis in Romania, the founder of X Prize, Singularity University, and so on. And I was in the same panel with him, and the moderator asked me a question. I said, okay, this is way too powerful. I don't want to centralize the answer. And I asked the AI, hey, can you call some friends from the audience? And my idea was, I was asking the AI to call everybody, right? But the AI said, okay, call some friends. Call 3 guys. And that friend said, call everybody. And that was a nice moment. This is the presentation.
Are living during the most extraordinary time ever in human history. We're living during a time when any one of us can change the world.
All the stuff about AI impact on our lives. Exactly. Right away.
How large scale are you demo this at?
Okay, that was the marketing part. But actually, it's design doesn't work, right? Not the chatbot. Everybody asking, okay, it's an AI. I don't know, but the iPhone, it's an Intel chip. It has an Intel chip, but you need to see it as a product. And we have around 50 AI miners that deploy different skills. And part of them are run through ocean nodes. And we're keep expanding this thing. It's super intelligent, actionable. It has different large language model and action model that is deciding the actions. But the trick is that as we humans, we have brains. And also we have hands, eyes, ears, and so on. So we design it on the same manner. So it has brains, but also it has faculties, abilities to make calls, browse the web, make predictions, analysis, join the Zoom calls. Whatever you can, whatever a human with a computer can do, this guy can do it as well. You want to add something about how we're running?
Yeah, so mainly you already got information regarding the ocean nodes. Ocean nodes is our first step in order to decentralize the AI. So we are using the blockchain to help people in their daily activities. So they can train models to support them in their daily activities. They can do the inference. So we believe that ocean nodes can be the basics or basis in training any type of models and using all the technologies in order to become better and to become more human, more supported, not just a concept or some technology that most of the people talk about, but they do not understand what's the meaning. So I think the best would be for us to make a short demo to see the result and to see if it's working or not working. We do not know. Unfortunately, we did not test it. So let's see how it works.
Actually, this is the first time we met. Okay, but the idea is, okay, we have brains, we have faculties, and basically we create some workflows, like you're hiring someone, right? You're hiring a community manager. It has some responsibilities, right? You need to understand what people are discussing in our community. If somebody's asking a question, find the right guy in the team, call him. If it's FOD, call Bruce. Okay, we need to see this thing. But also you want to interact with him like you're interacting with a colleague, right? To call him and say, okay, join me in a Zoom call and share your screen, right? So how can we make an AI to share this screen? You will see this. And we're selling it. We signed 2 contracts with the biggest state in India, and we have 2 contracts with 2 AI workers for them, with different enterprises. So the current state of technology is, okay, let's see what is the AI worker for those guys. But now we imagine how an AI worker looks and feels and so on for Ocean Protocol. But design as a coworker, design as part of the team, as somebody that's trying to empower everybody from the team to do a better job.
So I think we are the first project or company having an AI as part of the core team. And we are introducing our new colleague. It's our co-worker taking care of the community. Let's see if it works.
No question. You know what they are saying? So there's only one advice when you're doing a live demo stage. You know what that is? Don't do it. Okay. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can understand you.
Okay, so yeah, we're in a live demo, so no question.
I understand we're in a live demo. I'm ready to assist on
Okay,
every
perfect.
question or task you'd like help with.
Can you please tell me what you know about the Ocean Protocol?
Let me search for information about Ocean Protocol. Based on the information I found, Ocean Protocol is a decentralized platform.
Okay, perfect. Now please let's create a new persona. So let's create a community manager for Ocean Protocol, which is nice and is very crypto friendly. It's trying to help everybody, and post a message on Telegram saying hello from Superintelligence Summit. Okay, so he posted on Telegram, and now like we created the persona that is like the baby we get training and so on. Regarding the last presentation, tell me more about Ocean Enterprise. Are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here and ready to help. I just shared the information about Ocean Enterprise from the last presentation. Would you like me to elaborate on any specific aspect of it?
Yeah, please generate a chart for me with the top highlights about the Ocean Enterprise.
I'm creating a chart showing Ocean Enterprise key highlights.
Okay, but can you please change the colors? Use different colors.
I'm recreating the chart with different, more vibrant colors.
Thanks for the internet connection. Okay. Meanwhile, please, no, whatever. Do you know what is the next launch for Ocean Protocol?
Let me search for.
And no, actually, you know what? You know what? Call the Chief Operations Officer Ocean and ask him. Try to find out, ask questions to find out what is the next launch for Ocean Protocol.
I'm calling the COO of Ocean Protocol to inquire about the next launch.
We tried it before, it didn't work. Just for you to know that, like, zero expectations.
Would you like me to try reaching out to the COO again?
Yeah, actually call Oltano.
I'll call Old Danu to ask about Ocean Protocol's next launch.
It's Oltano.
I'll correct that and call Old Danu to ask about Ocean Protocol's next launch.
We're getting a call.
What's it called?
Hi.
Are you still there? It's like calling Old Danu again, trying to get a technical issue. Would you like me to try again?
What would you like to know about the next major launch or release?
I would like to tell you more about the next launch. We will be launching Ocean Enterprise somewhere December, January next year, this year, depends how you look at it. And
So the launch would,
please go ahead.
I apologize, I think, I was gonna ask, is there a specific date or time frame in December or January that you're aiming for with the Ocean Enterprise launch?
We are waiting for the notary to finalize the paper, so it depends on the notary, December or January.
Okay, so still looking at December or January, but it's really contingent on the notary's timeline.
Exactly. It's clear.
Just in that regular presentation.
We're in the presentation.
All right. Okay. I think we've covered the key points, but, all right. Well, thank you again for your time and for sharing the information about Ocean Enterprise. Have a great day.
Same to the mind.
Yeah. There you go.
Just one more thing. So I know that there's a party tonight. So please come up with 3 cocktail ideas for the party at Superintelligence Forum.
Ocean Rita, a unique take on margarita with an ocean-inspired twist too. Gelatini. Our creative spin on the martini with the jelly element 3. Emoji to the moon, a playful variation of a mojito. These cocktails were specially crafted to match the Ocean Protocol theme.
Okay, got it.
Any of these cocktail recipes?
Now let's see. Basically, what happened is the AI challenged you guys, right, the organizers, to see if you can create those 3 cocktails for tonight party. So you know what's happening. If we are used that we need to prompt AI, basically the AI start to prompt us, right? So basically this is what happened. AI asked us, let's create those 3 cocktails and enjoy it tonight. So that was the presentation, very briefly. So we barely touched the surface. We can do many things, more than 100 integrations. And looking forward to have conversation after this and really eager to deploy the workers as soon as possible.
So please ask all the recipes and good luck to the bartenders. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That's quite a tough act to follow. But you know, the challenge is not actually on me, but on the next team, on the next protocol that is going to come up here. Let me just introduce. You know, sorry. So today we're sharing the stage with our friends from Oasis Protocol, and you know we really like them quite a lot. We've got quite a lot going on together. But I don't want to steal Migna's job of introducing everybody. So you can stay here, but let's have Migna introduce you.
Sorry.
Hey everyone, as I mentioned, I'm Migna, I'm the head of community at Oasis. And in case you're not familiar with Oasis, I'm here to tell you a short story about them. So, the story goes that a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there lived a team of engineers who aimed to change the way we look at privacy forever. Their journey was fraught with perils, but after many years they prevailed. As you might have guessed, they're called Oasis, and they're here to share the technology they perfected so we can have a safer and better world. Yeah, we'll have multiple tracks as part of our presentation. And it's my honor to introduce to you Matejanic, our head of partnerships, who's going to talk about decentralized AI. Whatever that is.
Thank you, Mika. And sorry for keep running on the stage. Yeah, I know. I always mess up the whole setup. But yeah, Christiana made a good intro, it is tough to follow, the humanoid chat, that calls you up and asks you questions. So we'll try to go with, oh, sorry. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, we're going to try to speak a little bit about, decentralized AI and how Oasis approaches it. So yes, I'm going to talk about AI, but yeah, I think it's important to have these conversations. We had very good presentations in the morning by Trent and Ben that touched on, I think, interesting topics on HSI and ASI, right? And we're going to basically be presenting a little bit how we see, blockchain fitting in and why the kind of the intersection between crypto and AI are very compatible, right? For the future of having more, let's say, not fair, but I would say more democratic, right? AI where it's not really just in the hands of the few, right? So we'll see if it works. Yeah. So decentralized AI is the title of this workshop, and it's basically about bringing user self-sovereignty back. A quick outline of today's talk. We're going to go through the current AI landscape really shortly, and then we're going to touch on centralized versus decentralized AI models, not models per se, but kind of models of operandi, and then ASI, so artificial superintelligence versus human superintelligence. We're going to touch on user self-sovereignty and cognitive liberty, and finish off with kind of decentralized AI implementation. So, if you look at the current AI landscape, this is a very top-level view, but yeah, AI has been around basically since the 90s. Ben mentioned in the morning that the term was coined in the 50s, but I guess we could say that in some narrow scopes we saw adoption in the 80s, 90s. I think back then we were calling this more machine learning, and nowadays machine learning is kind of a subset of AI. But we can say that we're reaching a tipping point where AI is infiltrated basically all aspects, of our operations. So you see it, being utilized in legal, in medicine, in financial services, high schools, universities. They find a lot of use for ChatGPT and the likes. And this is also due to the acceleration of compute power ability. But it's also the concentration of those AI capabilities in the hands of a few entities for now, right? So we have the big companies doing the majority of these advancements when it comes to, let's say, now LLMs. And the decentralized alternatives, are in the making, but we can say that they are slightly behind the right? They are in the more early stages because doing things decentralized, it's always slow. You need to have consensus. You need to organize. It's not in the hands of just one entity that can speed run through a whole lot of things, right? And at the same time, we currently have users lacking the understanding around their data and their privacy, right? So they're happy using those, let's say, centralized solutions because they're maybe not even aware of what's happening in the field, right? So the question is, what is the path forward? If you look at the centralized AI scheme, right, it's dominated by large tech companies, such as Google, OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta. You have Grok as well from X. And then they have the data, compute power, development, talent, basically in their own model, right? And there are definitely advantages to those models, right? So you have economies of scale, you have a lot of access to data from your current applications, and have rapid development. But you also have a lot of disadvantages, right? You have data privacy concerns, right? You have a lot of monopolies over those AI solutions and a lot of risk for bias. If you look at a few examples, right, what happened when ChatGPT got released, Samsung, I think Samsung engineers started putting in proprietary code, right, into ChatGPT, and nobody really read that anything input into ChatGPT, OpenAI can use, right? So there was the whole issue there around data privacy and how I think they're trying to solve it through, offering enterprise solutions where you can opt out of the enterprise data being used in any future training, right? But that's all on the level of contracts and all that. It's not really a solution that is more trustless and permissionless by default, right? You also have the problem here of data breaches, right? We saw it was, while we were at World Summit AI, there was a breach with the AI girlfriend one, right? Where the emails and prompts for that girlfriend, right, were all leaked because they were in a centralized database, right? So we can definitely discuss, if it was good or bad to find some of those, but it's always bad. If there's a data breach, it doesn't matter the content, right? It shouldn't happen, right? And with centralized solutions, it does unfortunately happen quite often. And on topic of biases, you can also look at the example of when Gemini launched and it had the image generation, right? And when you asked it, can you show me a picture of a founding father of America? There was not a single picture of a white man, which was basically all of them, right? So we can see how those biases can be installed into these models, right? And they're like black boxes. We don't know what they put in there as weights, what data is being fed, what biases are being installed in there. So the problem here is, that also the tech companies, right? They're not really concerned about data privacy. They rather look at the new AI features, and try to implement them as soon as possible to be, at the edge of everything. So what's the solution here? How to move forward? Yeah. This captures it perfectly, decentralize all the things. Intentionally the things, right? But yeah, decentralize everything, and decentralized AI solution is where we see the kind of counterparty to the centralized option that we have now. So what is decentralized? What does decentralized AI enable? Removing single points of failure, adding transparency or verifiability to what's being done. Users in control of their data, and we have a lot of advantages here, right? Yeah, as I said, control of data. You can basically approve or deny any potential access when it comes to models. When you're utilizing applications, you can have approvals per, per request. You have enhanced data privacy, and definitely a lot less potential for bias, because with decentralized solutions, you usually are able to verify either if the data hasn't been manipulated or the model is open source, so you can see what's happening under the code, right? But there are also disadvantages, to decentralized AI with, unfortunately, a bit lower performance for now, right? There's coordination that slows things up, lack of standards. Crypto is built to be sort of like Lego, right? And putting together those Lego pieces sometimes takes a little bit more time. But I think all these projects, working in this space, and we saw today, Singularity talking about it, Ocean talking about it, us also working on solutions. And I think we're catching up to decentralized alternatives that had a little bit of a head start with all the resources, but also decentralized compute markets are getting more and more, available these days. So I see a lot of headwinds being removed here and making it possible for decentralized AI to progress, right? the crucial thing for us is, having that user self-sovereignty, right? So data ownership with consent and individual control of that data. Transparency in the use of that data and AI decision making, right? And then also, personal data is valuable, right? And we should treat it that way and have users be included in the AI economy, right? So not just trying to extract everything possible from that data, but pay users for providing that data, right? Because it is valuable. And if we have a quick comparison side by side, around user self-sovereignty from some centralized or decentralized options, data breaches, surveillance and profiling, lack of transparency, those are really all to the detriment of the user, right, when it comes to centralized solutions. And the decentralized options, have the user control, data sharing, transparency, and distributed governance, which I think can bring us forward to a lot more democratic future, right? So I'm going to touch on ASI versus HSI, and there's a reason for that, right? I'm not going to go too deep into this because I think Trent and Ben did great presentations in the morning, right? But you'll see later why it's important, right? As ASI is becoming a reality a lot faster than expected, this is going to bring fundamental changes to the social economic structures and how we compete. Obviously, as Trent presented in the morning, HSI, I think, is the answer with very computer interfaces, AI enhancing our decision making, our ability to learn new skills, gain new knowledge, right? And here, the question is then, if we have HSI, and I think there was a question at the end of Trent's talk around, who has access to that data, right? Because if we look nowadays into LLMs, we input basically everything, and we don't really care what's happening with that data in the back, but still, we voluntarily input stuff that we kind of are okay with sharing. But if we go a step forward with a PCI, right, that has basically, access to your thoughts, then we ask ourselves, who has access to those thoughts, right, that we have? Will there be, if there's a thought in your head, as I think his friend said, you're reading a book about Nazis and, you're thinking about swastikas, will police come to you, knock on your door and ask you what's that about, right? I think in the UK, we already saw nowadays that they are actually knocking on people's doors for their social posting. Australia, I think, has a similar problem, right? So imagine if you have a brain computer interface and you are thinking something that is not sanctioned or deemed okay by some entity, right? That's a terrible future to live in. So here it's crucial, right, that we have this cognitive liberty, that we have the privacy and freedom of thought and the right to control our cognitive process, and how to achieve that through centralized, AI solution. That's actually quite difficult because they are, monetizing all of their, all of the data that they're getting from the users, right? So locking themselves out of this is basically counterintuitive for them. And there's a lot of potential if you have a direct net shift, and they have access to it. They can manipulate the information, of course, erosion of privacy, and on the other side, with decentralized AI solutions, I see more potential for personalized AI systems that are under user control. You have manipulation against, protection against manipulation. I'm not saying that just decentralizing everything immediately enables that, right? But obviously, through open sourcing, through all of that, right, through auditing, we can discern which solutions are working towards the benefit of the user, which are not, right? So, of course, there is everywhere, right? There are going to be scams in the AI space as well, right? You're going to have projects that are going to try to steal your data, but at the same time, I believe that we're also going to have, projects that truly work on developing to the benefit of the user, like projects that we have here. On the decentralized AI implementation side, right? So the collaborative development of AI and data sets, we predominantly look at it from blockchain-based and privacy-preserving technologies. You have different other options as well, but I think here crypto and AI have really, really nice compatibility where you can have permissionless, trustless technology merged with AI, AI solutions, right, to enable that improvement in user, let's say, user capabilities, or just trying to solve for different problems. Of course, as I mentioned, challenges such as scalability, interoperability, ensuring data, and model quality do exist, but we believe that they will be conquered. Ocean is working on ocean nodes and compute data, right? Us through keys and solutions that we work on, right, are making sure that those computations, that data can remain private, can remain secure, can remain in your hands, right? And of course, the distributed governance of AI projects is also one aspect that we believe will be crucial here, because coming to consensus is always with different parties is always better, because you have multiple views, right? And kind of you have to align all those instead of just having one view and go for it. I think through history we saw that dictatorship is not the option that we want to choose here, and trying to have more democratic processes in this development is the way to go as well, right? And I think here in one of the following workshops we'll also discuss a little bit about the solution around governance and private voting that I think is also missing in the space right now. Not AI, but crypto in general, right? In the now governance models, he's going to talk a bit more about that as well. So let's raise this. I'm just going to give a very brief overview, because Gary and Marco will then touch on Sapphire and Raw for more in depth. But we're a public blockchain that enables private smart contract storage, private compute for the whole crypto ecosystem through confidential runtime guarded keys. So it's not like a layer one that's isolated just to its ecosystem, but this can be used cross-chain. So if the dApp is living on Arbitrum, Ethereum, wherever EVM compatible, right, they can still benefit from the privacy features that Sapphire offers. And Harry is going to go more into that during his workshop. And then we're also working on a very interesting solution that we call ROFL. And the acronym is intentional, but it doesn't mean rolling on through laughing, but it's runtime off-chain logic, which is a framework for the decentralized private infrastructure that enables compute over private data and distributability of private compute. So basically, because compute on-chain is very limited, right? You can still have off-chain compute, but at the same time on-chain verifiability through remote attestation with TEs, right? So I'm not going to go further into that. I'm going to let Marco take you through the whole ROFL framework. But in conclusion, for us, it's all about trying to shift a little bit of development from decentralized to decentralized AI, balancing ASI development with also HSI empowerment, preserving the cognitive liberty and self-sovereignty. And if we kind of sum it up in one sentence, an AI augmented world where AI enhances human capabilities without compromising autonomy and preserves human values and diversity is kind of what we want to strive for here. On that scheme, the decentralized side is always saying centralized is better because it's faster, and we're on the side of decentralized is better because it's offered to the people. So if you want to get in touch, these are my details. You can catch me on Telegram, X, email me, and you can check out our website. I would love to hear if you have any thoughts, questions, suggestions, if you have any use case that you want to discuss that maybe fits what we offer. But yeah, this would be it from my side for today. Any questions? All right, I think we're good. Oh, I only noticed now. Were you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mate. Use more memes. Okay, so next up we have Harry Roberts, who's our technical product manager for OPL and Sapphire. And he's going to tell you all about Sapphire, what Sapphire is, what we can do with it.
Should be good. Just go.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Oasis Sapphire, which is like the first confidential EVM in production, and try to explain why we're doing this, right? So we have a confidential EVM. I've been working with Ethereum for a good handful of years now, and in my opinion, this is the next thing that I need to build with the stuff that I want to do. Because it lets me do so much stuff that I can't do with ZKP or with MPC, and I'll get into that soon. First, some context around problems we have with AI and like how does Oasis fit into that. So we can have, we have centralized AI models where the infrastructure is closed because, in corporations they want the secret source. Even if they build on top of open models, they want to combine them themselves and have closed models or closed infrastructure so that they can bill you for the questions you ask, the time you use, but stop you from copying them, right, to protect your innovation. Or we have local AI, where you listen to the fans and the computer speed up and everything slows down, or you rent compute somewhere in a data center, or you rent, beefy expensive servers, purchase beefy servers and have them at home. And that's more like sovereign AI, where, if you're running it yourself on your own hardware, what's the opposite to that? What is the centralized AI? It's more like AI feudalism, where we're trying to make our little feudal tribes of profit that we can lock people into. And so this isn't necessarily all about AI. It's just about compute. Of course, AI is like cutting edge, it's intensive, it's innovative and expensive, but I do want to zoom out a bit with that in mind. So what we're doing is essentially, we have decentralized confidential compute, which is DCC. We have a decentralized physical infrastructure, which is DPIN. And we're heading towards things like TEML, which is machine learning, inference, and training run inside trusted execution environments, where together this starts to look like an interesting future, where you've got verifiable, confidential infrastructure as a service. And I think that's realistic. We're going to see this in the next 5 to 10 years, where the cloud is shifting in that direction. And I do hope to explain why I think that. So, confidential compute is very, very important because we're challenging some of the assumptions we have at the moment about the cloud, about blockchain, about Web3 in general. We've had decentralized physical infrastructure for years and years and years now. Like with a card, you can go and purchase a VPS or a bare metal server pretty much anywhere in the world, and there's thousands and thousands of providers to choose from. And mostly that's okay, but it's not ideal, right? And the other side is you have, the big three like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, where they're a lot more than just infrastructure. So they're like cloud powerhouses, where almost every kind of service that you could want is all in one place, but it's very difficult to move off of their servers. So to a certain extent, it's kind of like they're casually extorting you once they have your data. So that's the problem with interoperability. There's no sort of standard marketplace for like services across them. I can't run Google Cloud or Amazon. I can't run Azure Cloud or Google. I can't run either of them on my hardware wherever I want to. Because most of it's all proprietary. And I don't have a problem with proprietary infrastructure and services. It's just, as I mentioned, it leads to some sort of casual extortion. And so this is very different from just markets direct compute time because they don't have confidentiality and they don't have
verifiability. And okay, so for me, the question is, how can we liberate the cloud from and software as a service and various different apps so that we can run it anywhere we want? But the problem is, do you trust, the important data on some random server operated by like a small company in possibly some country where the law is not in English, but just because the bandwidth is cheap and electricity is cheap, but storage is good. Usually the hardware is as reliable. So I keep coming back to the question, why can't I run Midgard or Claude or ChatGPT on my own hardware? And they don't want me to have their software because that means they can't monetize it. And I don't want them to have my data so that they can't monetize it. And there's also a lot of like liability legally, who owns the data, where is it, who can access it, can you delete it? And there's, I hope these are problems are being solved so that I can run ChatGPT or whatever I want without having to worry about the privacy of my data. And they don't have to worry about me stealing the code or their models. And neither of us have to worry about the server operators peeking into what we're doing. And at the end of the day, everyone gets paid, right? Because we need to pay rent, have happy families, and eventually, and hopefully retire. So one of the key components for this is, the next generation of infrastructure is going to be partly on-chain. And you don't need a blockchain, but without like a reliable neutral platform to run markets, to run settlements, and a reputation management of payments, which fosters innovation, even if you don't have a blockchain, it ends up looking like one anyway. So I'll very quickly introduce OASIS Sapphire. So it's the confidential EVM that enables private smart contract execution. It's Ethereum compatible, where the contracts have their encrypted storage. The runtime stays encrypted, so the node operators can't see what's going on. It has call level encryption, so you have end-to-end encryption between the DApp and the smart contract. And curiously, this also gives you MEV protection for free. And it's also got a 6-second block time because using the delegated proof of stake architecture, that means you get full finality as soon as the block is mined. Of course, Sapphire is part of this bigger OASIS ecosystem. So you have consensus level, delegated proof of stake, and it allows for a modular compute layer where you've got several different paradigms, and Sapphire is one of the paradigms that is confidential, but you have a non-confidential one and a Rust-based one. And all of these paradigms are tested and verified by the consensus layer. So for the example of Sapphire, our foundation will release a new upgraded version. We sign the Intel SGX compatible binary. The consensus votes on chain to accept or reject the upgrade. And then, which nodes are allowed to run this. And this is verifiable infrastructure inside trust execution environments where the node operators can't tamper with the software. So we get some interesting guarantees. You still use many different nodes where they verify they can compute the same thing, so we get resilience and fault tolerance. And from the consensus, you can verify that a specific binary is executing a transaction. So you might even need less nodes to form a proper consensus there. And of course, you get privacy and confidentiality almost for free because of the trust execution environment. So if we look back at how is this implemented, right? So one of the key components is a key manager. So how can contracts have their own private data which is accessible from many different nodes? So contract running trust execution environments. So Sapphire, we use a runtime SDK to make paratimes. And every paratype that has its own secrets that is shared amongst the other nodes of that same paratype. And the key managers are only going to give the secrets to instances that are verified, that are being tested and run by the nodes that are agreed on at the consensus level. So it is proof of stake, but it's also fully decentralized. And of course, the key manager is compartmentalized, so it's got a much smaller attack surface, and it's like another paradigm, but running in a trust execution environment as well. So this all makes sense when you think about the problem of how can a smart contract have encrypted storage that nobody can access with no backdoor? And you start thinking of all the secrets from the box, and you can only open the box if it's guaranteed that you have something inside another box that can open the box and it won't tell you what's going on inside the box. You end up with these weird recursive algorithms where you know what's happening, but you don't know what any of it is, right? And of course, you can upgrade the box, you can get a bigger box, and that's why, at the consensus level, you have to be careful about which software you're allowed to be upgraded to, so that the secrets don't leak out of the box. And you get the gist of it, right? So anyway, Pandora, and she's got a box, and anyway, as the myth goes, is left safely in the hands of her husband. She looked inside, and the rest is history. So mankind is now cursed with something or blessed. And in the Web3 space, this curse is probably going to be something like zero-knowledge NPC, or like indistinguishable obfuscation. And I mean that like in a kind way, in the English saying, we live in interesting times, or maybe live in interesting times. Yeah, ZK is very, very interesting, as is NPC, but I want all this to work right now. So we can figure out the applications of the technology, how confidentiality and verifiable computation can work together in autonomous decentralized networks, and how that will change how we architect and solve problems. So just like with the cloud before, and before like the internet and telecoms and sliced bread, we're going to go down the TEML route instead of the ZKML or the NPCML route, because it's something like 90% as fast as just running native code, and you can access GPUs with end-to-end encryption even at the PCI bus level. And it's not as interesting as ZK or NPC, but it does let us skip ahead 10 years. So instead of spending the next 10 years doing ZK and NPC research, we can try the applications now and see what happens and develop the ideas. And basically, this means I can do pretty much everything that I can think of, whereas with ZK, I still can't do all the stuff that I want to do. Or at least I can, but it's hideously slow and it's very, very complicated. So anyway, come back to data. A lot of it comes down to the processing of data, like where it lives, who has access to it. But for me, data still feels a bit like nuclear waste, or like asbestos or microplastics. And I don't think it's oil. Everyone said it's data is the new oil. But what about data recycling? Well, for most kinds of data, we don't want it to be recycled because, like the nature of data is you can't put it back in the box once it's out there. And it's kind of like every cookie banner you see on the internet. It's like, are you okay with your data being recycled? It's being spread everywhere. But if we look back at like 10, 15 years, when HTTPS was becoming a standard, can you imagine if SSL was optional? If you have to click an extra button that says, connect securely. And after SSL, a handful of more years, for drive encryption to become the norm. And, mostly like governments and spies and hackers were using it. But now everybody's laptops, their phones, hopefully they're all encrypted by default. But just as we start encrypting all of the devices and all of the servers, everybody moves to the cloud. So even though the cloud servers are encrypted, the applications are processing the data, the system admins have that, we have no way of verifying if your data is actually being processed in the way that you want it to be. And now we're putting all of the unencrypted data on the blockchain forever. So, something that by design you can't delete this. So when I think of blockchains, I do think of like this is the elephant's foot in Chernobyl, but it's a big problem, and we don't quite realize it's a problem until it's too late. But if there's one thing you can think about today, it's how we combine these different things so that we can have privacy and protection by default at every level, verifiable infrastructure, and to prevent the unnecessary accumulation of data. Like all of the blockchain history is an inefficient process, and the data is a byproduct of that. So anyway, I'm going to talk quickly about how we make things on Sapphire. How is it different programming smart contracts on Ethereum versus with a confidential EVM? So with a confidential EVM, modularity is still really, really important. So having privacy, being able to call other contracts in private, being able to compose them together, means you can have flexibility in comparison to making ZK circuits, for example, and they can also be autonomous. So you can start to do some really interesting things when the contracts have confidential data, and it can speed up a lot of things that we're starting to see solutions with confidential EVM that in the Web3 space, whole companies spin up to make this happen, account extraction, for example, where this is really actually straightforward without all of that. So we do have lots of different examples. If you do want to check for the playground, where you can go check like GitHub, repos, and all of these, so lots and lots of great examples. If you want to fork them, we also have a hackathon at ETH Global that we're sponsoring, and you can get a head start on your project. And you can force it, so just like the Ethereum ecosystem, you can use MetaMask, you can block Explorer, you get some tokens to play around with and interact with the apps. And I think that the easiest way to describe Solidity on confidential EVM is on Ethereum, even if you have private variables, everybody can access the state, right? But on Solidity and confidential EVM, your private variables really are private. So unless your contract has a method to retrieve data from the contract, then nobody can access it. Not the node operators, not the contract or developer, not the user. But of course, the code of the contract is still available. You can verify your contracts, you can get the bytecode, so don't put your passwords in the contract source code because that's not secure, right? But we also have a bunch of different pre-compiles. So with confidential EVM, the first thing we started off with was cryptographically secure random number generator. So on Ethereum, we have like the chain link VRF, where you pay chain link some link tokens, and they generate a number, and they call your contract back. And it's, we just have this built in as standard, and it's instant, and it's available with a quick Solidity wrapper. But if you have a random number generator, then you can generate key pairs, you can generate encryption keys. So next we say, okay, let's add pre-compiles, but deriving wallets or deriving, key pairs from a variety of different curves. So we support like the P384 curve, which is one of the standards that Amazon use across their entire product range because it's like NSA top secret compliant. We also support ED25519 and encryption, decryption, and a bunch of different hashing algorithms. So with these primitives, you can start combining them together to interact with Web 2 services, Web 3 services, and yeah. But you also have to think a little bit differently. So a good example of this is, what if both sides were in a trusted execution environment? So you can have one contract on one side that generates a key pair, and you give the public key to the contract on the other side, which is also in a trusted execution environment. That generates a key pair, so they both share the key pairs. And then they can communicate with each other privately with encryption, with authentication, and users can even pass messages between different blockchains, and they can't tamper with them, they can't modify them. So you don't need a bridge anymore, right? So again, all of this infrastructure starts to dissolve when the contracts can act like their own agents on different chains. Of course, that's not how we are at the moment. At the moment, we're the only chain that has like EVM and trust execution environment, but there are other confidential chains, there are other trust execution environments that you can establish this sort of bi-directional layer of trust with each other. But there's also the question of, well, even with one contract in one chain, it can talk to itself by signing messages or encrypting messages that the user can later give back to the contract. So the contract can say it's going to encrypt a token for you, or encrypt an access key, or encrypt a secret that you can give it back to the contract in the future, and only that contract can decrypt it. So we started to build things like trust and execution rollups. So of course, the view pools, just like on Ethereum, these are all free, but on confidential EVM, they can also access confidential state. So you can run computation for free, and you can verify like a Bitcoin header, and then it will sign the result of the verification, saying this header successfully verified. You can then pass the previous verification back into the function along with the next block header, and that means that you can do this perpetually, forever, and you can condense the entire of the Bitcoin blockchain down into one signature, and that makes lots of things really interesting. But anyway, I've covered some of what we're doing with Sapphire, but I next want to move on to we're making proofs of concepts. We're trying to flesh out like what can we build with Sapphire that's missing in the ecosystem. And one of those is like voting. So I won't go on a slight tangent. Really, we want to make more granular decisions, and but I often try to advocate for removing humans from the loop, whenever possible, because we're quirky and weird creatures. But one thing that really sucks is when you have a fully automated process and then something gets flagged for manual review. Sometimes due to AI now, it's flagging this stuff, and then you have like a dumb person or a weak bag that's inserting themselves between two different computers, where they would. Where the computers would normally be talking directly with each other. And occasionally, and inevitably, they're going to make a mess of it. But there's also like the exact opposite of that, where we're stuck in a Kafkaesque loop of automations, and like there's an example of someone who was mistakenly issued a death certificate despite the fact that they're still breathing. And the only way that they could get it fixed was to get through to a real person. And importantly, the person had permission and authority to override this automated system. What I'm getting is that there's a very nuanced conversation around the sort of semantic distinctions. You can split hairs, and there are very real easy answers because humans are always in the loop somewhere, and hopefully we're always going to be in the loop. Because obviously, like the answer a lot of people go up to when they end up discovering AI and LLMs and stuff is we have the AI hammer now, so let's all of humanity is going to be a now. So therefore, we need a benevolent dictator for life that's AI, it's going to manage everything, it's going to make decisions, and we've solved the problem. So, but of course, that's not. So what's stopping us from becoming super intelligent? And the keywords is like all of us. So we've been using the same decision-making processes and tools on-chain for DAOs for about 10 years now. And they're all based on stuff that's been established and it's intuitive for like 1,000 years, tens of thousands of years maybe. And it's slowly been corrupted over time and captured. And why is it as flexible as we want it to be? Why does everybody always unanimously agree? So you see DAOs with a 99.9% approval rate. Are we really approving these? Why aren't we challenging these? Or if you see binary questions, it's a 50-50 split, like the US presidency. Is it broken? We need to fix it. But a lot of the companies that are introducing AI into their products, it's a lot of them seem to be like tech washing stuff. So it's like the shitification, and a lot of it ends up being AI recommendations. For example, we dictate what you must consume, so you can be happy, and so you can align and comply with us. And so for me, when a company says, "Oh, we're doing AI," that's like a huge red flag. But what happened? The reason this is relevant is because this is all coming down how does shitification happen? And what are the thought processes, what are the decision processes that lead to these, predatory or, user hostile decisions being made? It's like, let's make the adverts bigger. Could we sell the data if we harvested more data? When does the token ruin? And, these aren't dark patterns because they're my dark patterns. So I want to share something in building an Oasis, which is it's a new kind of voting tool. So we put it on testnet at the moment, and you can scan the QR code or vote.oasis.io. And yeah, so we were starting to think about DAOs and decision making, and it's not just the big government governance votes, but all of the little decisions along the way. So the temperature checks, the opinion polls, the signal gathering, and we realized something was missing. So we built a tool that lets you run polls and gather signals with configurable privacy and token gating. So it's not just another voting platform, we're trying to experiment with how we rethink how we make better decisions. And going to cover with this, why did it need to be built? What can we do with it? How it works? Well, I'm not going to go into how it works in too much detail. And where did it go? I think it's a good thought exercise. So if we look at the state of DAOs and DAO voting today, so they've been operating in a pretty fixed pattern on, and a lot of them started on layer 1 networks like Ethereum, but then the transaction costs became a massive barrier to participation. And we're not talking about a few $100s here. If you think of a big DAO, you could be looking at $15, $30, $50,000 just to ask the members of the DAO a question or to pass a proposal. And you might say, well, let's just move this to a layer 2, and most DAOs, some DAOs are thinking about this. But what's it mean in practice? So, do you really want to bridge your DAO tokens back and forth every time you need to vote? And, what if there's a bridge hack? Does that introduce problems? Can you get stuck? So that's why many DAOs turn to vote delegation, but that creates another problem. How do those delegates actually figure out what their constituents want? How can they be truly representative? And if we look at snapshot voting on layer 1, it's particularly painful because a lot of these DAOs started off with plain ERC20 tokens, and then ERC20 vote standard was introduced later on that adds overhead to every single transfer. So of course you can do like Merkle proofs, but on layer 1 it's still incredibly expensive. So the alternative is to move to off-chain snapshots. Yeah, you can do that, but they're not binding, right? So what really keeps me up at night is when you look at successful DAO proposals and they're passing with a very high approval rate, and that makes me stop and think, are we actually making the decisions, or is this just an incredibly expensive and complicated rubber stamping exercise? So yeah. Right. So what's fascinating though is that this is like the decision-making process we've been using for a long time, and somebody does the thinking, they craft a proposal, then the DAO votes on it, but there's a fundamental problem. These are all high-efforty, all or nothing. So you're going to put weeks or even months of effort into, and then it comes to a simple yes or no vote, right? There's no middle ground, there's no room for nuance, you can't ask questions, or what's worse is we only see the finished product on chain. So all of the thinking, all of the iterations, all of the conversations that led to the proposal, they're invisible to most of the DAO members. So you don't get to be part of the journey, you only get a say at the end. That means it's too late to meaningfully influence the direction of it. So the problem is that DAOs are then locked into this pattern. It's either technically difficult or practically impossible to change the governance structure once it's deployed. And we're stuck with this binary all or nothing approach. So in the real world, we've got lots of different frameworks for making decisions, and Delphi method, rapid framework, and consensus-based approaches. But different decisions need different approaches. And most of the real thinking and decision making now is not happening on chain. So this is happening in Telegram and Discord or conferences or the pub or at work. And ultimately, you're the expert, so you want to be able to decide and adapt and learn and improve rather than being stuck with a fixed model. So when we force everything into a simple yes or no vote structure, we lose the ability to have discussions, to have feedback, because it's all hidden from view. And because all of these conversations are happening in closed channels or in person, you can't participate practically. So how can we claim to be decentralized when all of these decisions that are shaping everything are happening in private or conferences, that not everybody can attend? So yeah, we're looking at how can we foster more inclusive and accountable decision making, where we bring the discussion on chain for everybody to participate while still maintaining the flexibility to choose what approach works for different types of decisions. And the problem, what surprises me is despite all the innovation we're seeing in DeFi and Web3, and the DAOs are still sticking with the simple yes or no proposal model. And I think we're missing a lot of opportunities to make better decisions. So if you look at the cloud of questions, instead of one big yes or no vote, we could break it down into smaller, more manageable chunks. What if we could find the deal breakers easier before spending months on a proposal that's destined to fail? And for delegates, it's crucial, right? So how can you truly represent your constituents or DAO constituents? If you can't ask them specific questions about different aspects of the proposal. So this is not just about voting, it's about the thinking process, about being more granular, about temperature checks, of signaling, getting early feedback. So you're lying before what happens. So there's lots of different interconnected questions, and this is what inclusive thinking looks like, right? It's about making our preferences public, about finding points of agreement and disagreement, about bringing everybody into the process. And this is how we want to sort of transform our governance. But, so speed is everything, and yeah, asking lots of questions, dragging lots of people in, it can make things slower. But the question is, does speed matter when we're trying to make the right decisions? So if you think about this, if you find a disagreement faster by making smaller decisions more frequently, you can actually spend less time going down better routes. And when people with smaller token holdings can share their insights, you often uncover perspectives of the way others might not. So while they might not always be quicker, it will be or can be more targeted. So finding the right people to ask the right questions for, and that's what I mean by being flexible. Although we do have to be careful about decision fatigue. So the power of privacy is because we're a confidential EVM chain, we do want people to use privacy when they vote. What's interesting is in the real world, in the US, millions of people casting their votes in private in order to decide who the president was. But in the UK, we also celebrated Guy Fawkes Night recently, so commemorating an extreme case of disagreeing with the government's decisions. And what's interesting, both highlight the sort of fundamental thing about democracy is, the power of our private actions have public consequences. So in the US, the voting booth, no one knows how we voted, but everybody sees the results. And on Guy Fawkes Night, we celebrate with the march that became a symbol of anonymous protest. But it's interesting, after hundreds of years, we still recognize that some of our most important decisions need privacy to be fully democratic. So you try an experiment, like if I asked a spicy question about a proposal, would you vote differently if everybody can see your vote right away? Or if you could see what other people had voted for already before the vote was closed? Or, if we change these parameters and we change how privacy works, would you change how you ask the question? And so if you imagine every DAO vote was private, would we see different results? Would we see people objecting or coming up with their own original decisions instead of just following the herd? So privacy is not about hiding, it's about having the freedom to express your opinion without the fear of pressure, and also being free from this implicit pressure of seeing everybody else also making decisions. Sometimes that's a big difference. So yeah, we're trying to make everything customizable, where you can control on a poll-by-poll basis. You can fine-tune exactly who gets the votes, so how their votes are weighted. You can reduce the whale's influence by using a logarithmic scale, the number of tokens you hold, or you can give everybody one vote as long as they hold at least one token. That works with NFTs as well, for example. You're not just limited to DAO governance tokens, so you can use NFT, so if you hold a specific collection, you're allowed to vote. Or what if you want people who hold above $1 billion and you only want their decisions? So you can do that. And you can do that without revealing who they are or what exactly their token holdings are. So like for sensitive topics, you might want complete privacy. For temperature checks, you might just want to show who voted but not what their choices were. Or for like public declarations, you want to make everything public but only after the vote is ended. And yeah, you decide what's appropriate. So for each specific question, you can have its own rules, its own privacy settings, its own weighting system, so you're in complete control of that. So we're also running like a grants program at Oasis. So we've been at DEF CON in Bangkok today. We're running a hackathon later in the week, and it's global. And we're looking at how can you integrate privacy into DAO governance? How can you make better decision-making tools? Or how can you explore different ways to add privacy and Ethereum together that changes how we do things? So of course, that's the end of it. If you want to check out our grants program, our GitHub, etc., please do. So thanks, guys.
Do you have any questions for Harry?
That's great. I can sit down. Thank you, Harry, for the presentation as always. And the last part of our show, I think the last presentation will have a surprise afterwards. I would like to invite to the stage Marco, our head of AI. I promise he's not a robot, he's actually a really nice guy. And semi-nice guy.
Hello, I am Marco, and I'm really cold, so I'm looking forward to going out again, and then getting too hot, and then repeating the cycle. So I will keep myself short, but there is something that I really want to talk to you about, and that is, if I manage to make this work, yes, Ruffle. Unfortunately, Matteo already spoiled. Ruffle, I cannot fool you, is not a meme coin. It's rather a serious business. As you can see, it will be about off-chain verifiability. Here, a rough agenda so that you can see when to plan your afterwork parties today. I will start with the problem in crypto. There are many problems. I have decided on one because we're currently aiming to solve it. Then we will dive into Ruffle. What is it? How does it work? Why is it not a meme coin? We will dive into some of the use cases that you can build with Ruffle that are very difficult to do without. It will all sound very amazing, so I have to be honest and show you some limitations of what you can currently do, but there is a roadmap, and at the end we will dive into confidential compute with machine learning, or for machine learning. Oh, okay. The problem in crypto, as I said, there's many. I decided to focus on verifiability. So crypto was built on decentralization and verifiability. I talk mainly to AI projects. AI projects, they really want to utilize LLMs, all kinds of intelligence, but all of this intelligence lives off-chain. So how do we combine this off-chain intelligence with the on-chain world which is not very easy to do because the on-chain world does not like non-deterministic or non-deterministic behavior. It's very difficult to get these two to work together, and I think we really need to, because inherent to decentralization and verifiability is trustless compute. Ruffle, it's runtime off-chain logic. That's our approach to this problem. We think it offers a very valid solution. We are the experts, so that's also what we built this on. This won't tell you too much, so let's dive into a proper explanation. Ruffle is a framework that allows you to develop all kinds of applications, rather off-chain logic, that is easily verifiable on-chain, and we achieve this through the use of TEs, so trusted execution environments. What is off-chain logic? It just means any program that you run async off-chain and thus communicate with the on-chain world via transactions, events, etc. Our goal with Ruffle is to abstract away all the complexity, all the infrastructure that is needed to achieve this, to make off-chain interactions secure and verifiable. So, I sometimes get the question, why do we need to connect the on-chain world to the off-chain world? I think there's many good reasons to do so. Namely, if you run off-chain compute, you can do this local, if you have your own nodes or your own kind of Ruffle instance, but you are able to verify this on-chain. You can have it very cheap, you can be very flexible, and you can have more responsiveness, which is relevant for some use cases, like, for example, gaming, which we will dive into in a second. Of course, I do not want to go back to Web 2 and we just build everything again off-chain because it has some benefits. You do want to keep lots of the backend of your application on-chain because that's where you get censorship resistance, you remove essential authority, and you keep stuff like billing, access management, account management in this on-chain world. But as I said, you do want to utilize off-chain compute for certain reasons. So, how Ruffle works. I'll go over this twice. So, each Ruffle app has its own TE. It is registered on the Oasis network. That's where it's authenticated. That way it can sign transactions and interact with smart contracts. Every Ruffle instance will have a live client to track the consensus layer of Oasis. With this, it has access to time, it has access to the current on-chain state on Oasis. Ruffle will also be able to generate ephemeral keys that it can then use for remote attestations and on-chain signing. All of this should be done automatically. We want to abstract this away. With this, you can then run any arbitrary work and interact with the off-chain world with or via authenticated network connections. We'll get to this in a second. And this is how it looks like visually. You have 3 Ruffle apps. They all run in their own TEE. They are registered on Sapphire. They have a live client to check the consensus layer. That's where they get, as I said, time, on-chain state. And they have an attestation method to provide remote attestations that guarantee or show compute integrity. And with this, you can then, via HTTPS, TLS, as I said, authenticated network connections, interact with the on-chain world, off-chain world, and utilize it for whatever you need. So, who actually needs it? What is it for? As you see, off-chain compute can be great for those that need to be trusted and definitely need to interact with the on-chain world. For example, oracles. Preferably, you have this NTE and can verify that what the oracle is bringing back on-chain is actually the one that was computed or that was picked from the outside. Compute-intensive apps, I mean, it's going to take a long time, if ever, for us to run machine learning compute on-chain. Was never the intention of any blockchains. I know some are currently working on this, but it's going to stay off-chain for a while. And there we definitely want to make sure that everything that was computed is actually correct or has some integrity. Same with apps that need faster response times. Gaming projects, they will want to utilize off-chain compute. And privacy, we've had this a couple of times in the last hour. You do not just want to utilize LLMs. Preferably, you want to have some privacy-preserving methods to do so. I want to send a prompt. It's encrypted. It gets decrypted on the hardware level, and then I get the result back. And the node operator, compute operator, the LLM owner, they did not see what my prompt is. They cannot connect it to me. That's at least the world that we are looking forward to. So, What can you use it for? As I said, autonomous AI agents, private prompting, bridges and live clients, defense in depth even for like sequencing and CK provers, oracles, and the last one is what I want to dive into, like just talking a bit about the example. The idea is we want to have an oracle that posts on-chain every block price feeds. So how would you build this with the current Ruffle iterations? You have, of course, some solidity code because our chain is a confidential AVM. Here we actually just kind of give your Ruffle an ID for authentication. You create some stuff like, hey, I want these observations, you define how should those observations look like, and you build the function that kind of posts these observations. And then the Rust code. Here is actually where you use these get call functions. These are authenticated network connections. HTTPS domain, this can be, I don't know, Binance price feeds, CoinGecko, it really doesn't matter. You just fetch them from there. Then you, of course, need to make them available or readable for Ethereum. So you kind of decode the JSON format, remove the floating points, you multiply it by 1,000,000, and then you store it by calling the smart contract, pass the data, and you sign and submit, all with the Ruffle sign. I have in the appendix a code. We can go over it in a second. But that's the general idea. Of course, this is a very easy example. You just fetch some data from an HTTPS domain and post it on-chain with some connections, like here, for example, with the current block height. As I said, it sounds super powerful, but we just released this, so it is quite limited in what you can do. So to be very transparent, we decided to start with a Rust-based Ruffle. So if you don't know Rust, you'll have to wait a bit until we kind of expand this to all kinds of languages, but it's definitely on the roadmap. There is a focus on authenticated network connections. So anyone working in the AI world, you can do API calls to OpenAI and verify and prove that you did so. But of course, this is a bit limited. Like there's no privacy yet. You don't have private inference or anything like that. You just really can prove on-chain that you did something with the on-chain world. Our network, I think it was explained previously too, is built on Intel SGX CPUs. So they run this network. Ruffle also runs currently in Intel SGX TEs. Currently, that's the last point, there is no hardware provisioning marketplace. What does it mean? You cannot just tap into our nodes and ask them to run your Ruffle instance. We're figuring this out. I think Harry has a few ideas here. Currently, you do need to rent your own Intel SGX CPUs. Rather easily doable, but still definitely a limitation for developers. Of course, on local net, you can test everything, but as soon as you want to deploy, test net or mainnet, you do need to have an Intel SGX instance where you run this Ruffle instance, from where you also sign all of these transactions. To the cool parts, the roadmap. So what will be possible? What are we currently working on? The first one is definitely Intel TDX. Intel TDX is the next evolution from Intel SGX. So you have, again, TEs, but with a larger trusted compute base. Intel TDX actually allows you to run like full virtual machines in a TE. So in theory, you can have a full HTTPS server. And the cool part that kind of leads to the other points in the roadmap is that Intel TDX can expand its secure enclave with secure enclaves on GPUs, namely NVIDIA H100s. They have their own confidential compute capabilities, and you can connect these once you have Intel TDX. I think the benefits of this are very obvious, but we'll get into it in a second. Before we get there, we really need to improve the Ruffle developer experience. As I said, currently you can use it. We have hackers it's actually just deployed that utilized it, but it can definitely be better. Then we will include NVIDIA TE support. Quite the exciting field. I mean, NVIDIA confidential compute hasn't been around too long. Just recently, actually, they implemented remote attestations for multi-GPUs. So until then, you could only actually run one TE, one GPU, and they are disconnected from the others. So of course, it doesn't work for any kind of proper model training, but you could have utilized it for inferences or maybe even some fine-tuning. But of course, as I said, limited. But we are adding this TE support. Will also be for multi-GPU attestations. And then the final step is TEML. Combine Intel TDX with NVIDIA H100s to have proper TEML. confidential compute for machine learning. I mean, you can finally utilize the compute resources for someone else. I know we are currently already doing this. I mean, one of the biggest, or the biggest AI, triple X AI projects currently are these decentralized compute providers. These Atheus, Akash, IronNet, GPUNet of this world. But as I said, we're all doing this without verifying this whole part that happens off-chain. And that's something that you can finally do once you have this TDX and H100 combination, because those compute providers, they can provide confidential compute that is fully verifiable. So just like on the verifiability aspect, you already have a massive benefit. And honestly, I don't know how we're currently doing it without. But then the confidential part, I mean, we have tons of projects currently waiting for us. Yes, we are the bottleneck, but as you can see, this is currently the holy grail for all TDE projects. Everyone's currently researching this on how to do it. All of these projects are currently waiting for this because they want to utilize LLMs for their users, but they do not want to offer this to their users without privacy. So everyone's waiting for private prompting. And unfortunately, or fortunately for us, they do have to wait for us, because outside of crypto, very few are working on this. We were actually at World AI Summit a couple of weeks back in Amsterdam, and we talked to Dell, NVIDIA, Intel about like, hey, who's actually utilizing confidential compute of H100s? And they're like, I don't get it. Like, I have my own data center. Why do I need to make sure on a hardware level that my compute has integrity? But of course, they're not thinking about these use cases where I'm renting someone else's GPU, asking them to compute something for me, and sending me the results back. So for them, it's really a non-problem. That's why it's quite exciting for us in the space to see how to utilize H100s for private inference, for training on proprietary data. This is how it kind of looks like. There's quite a few parts to the right, quite a few parts to the left. But the idea is that you have a trusted execution environment. You have the standard CPU stuff that includes the NVIDIA attestations, and then you can talk to the secure enclave that runs on GPU. I hope that we will have something presentable end of year, likely January. But as I said, like even NVIDIA did not have multi-GPU remote attestations until very recently, so I'm not too worried here. But it's definitely an exciting time for us, for AI developers, for users, because something is being unlocked here that was not available before, and no one else is actually doing it. And I should have checked Harry's slides before, because I had the same idea to link to our playground, where you can see projects actually utilizing Ruffle for, yes, AI inference, but also for kind of all kinds of other use cases. And I think that's it. I did promise some code examples. I had a bit of technical explanation, I have to go through it anyways. This would be the Solidity part. If you want to build a Ruffle app, as you can see, it can be rather straightforward. You have to give your app Ruffle app ID, which is very similar to an app ID that you have on the Apple Store or Play Store. You define the observation, what you want to be posted, and then you create the function that actually submits the observation. This would be the Rust part of the code. You can see the get call, where to get the price key from. Here, the example we use Binance. Then, as I said, you convert to JSON, you multiply it by 1,000,000, so that Ethereum can actually utilize it, and then you submit it with the private or with the signature from the Ruffle. There's some boilerplate code where you define the trust root, etc. It will be complex once you try it out. This is again for an Oracle price kit, which is purposely an easy example, but that's why we have our developer community that helps each other. And as I said, this was just released by us, so I think it's acceptable that it will be a bit difficult, but also very rewarding, because you can finally do some stuff off-chain and verify on-chain that you actually did it. Oh, yeah, thank you. Cool. Yep.
Thanks very much for the talk. I just have a quick question. So for the network that I work for, there's a lot of buzz surrounding agents at the moment, no doubt about that. And we're seeing lots of projects that build out agents, but have given up on the verifiability piece, and I just started using like OpenAI's API and Claude and etc. And I've given up on the likes of like Gita and like Ezekiel for like the inference times and the proving costs is quite substantial at the moment. However, I do know of some projects that are innovating more, making inroads on this. One being, you probably know Daniel Kang, he's a Stanford lecturer at Zika and he manages the biggest repo I've seen of lots of cool projects. And some of the metrics look quite good in like proving llama inferences. And I just wondered if you could help me understand what TEML looks like compared to TensorBlock, which is what he's coming out with as they make further inroads.
Yeah, it's a good question. We are talking to Visa. Yes, they are currently using ZKML, but even that, they create this Cairo hits off-chain and then verify just off-chain that the output was correct. I cannot give you numbers, unfortunately, for TEML, what the overhead will be. The big benefit is that it will be way easier usable for most people, like crypto people, but also AI researchers, compared to ZKML. ZKML, I have to check that repo. I know EZKL is doing some really good work, but I haven't seen it anywhere in action with an LLM. So some research that it was done by our colleagues, but it's like single GPU remote attestations, because as I said, until very recently, it wasn't even possible for a GPU cluster, and it was like 15% overhead for the compute. I think we will have to see. We will be happy to share all the results that we have as soon as we start testing with the H100s. But at least from what we can tell, it will be way easier to use than ZKML or FHEML. And at least with like single GPUs, the overhead is rather fair, especially if you can then have confidential compute. But yeah, I know, unsatisfying answer. Anything else? Good.
I think this is it, and we can move on to the final part. So recently, like for the past 2 months, we've been running an online hackathon, really great hackathon with $130,000 in prizes. It just concluded last week. A lot of great submissions, and a lot of great submissions not only for Wasted but for Ocean as well. And we had a lot of partners for this hackathon, so everyone contributed to the prize pool. We had 01 Labs, Pixel, Roaming, Apilon, Aether, D-Dog, I don't think I'm missing anyone.
Google.
Yeah, that's about it.
They're going to excuse us.
Yeah, they're going to excuse us. So, to end the show, I know everyone is tired and wants to get to the party. So, we're going to present the winners for the Privacy for 1-3 hackathon. And I'm going to start with Oasis.
That's done.
We have one, so this is an Oscar night. Okay, so coming in at 4th place, we have Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. No, it's actually called Minesweeper, and I know it comes with every version of Windows, but this one is different. So takes the classic logic game and builds it on Sapphire, introducing transparency and fairness to secure verifiable randomness. So congratulations, Minesweeper. Okay, for 3rd place, I know we have a lot of projects taking up close to the tight. As I said, there were too many submissions, and our engineers had a really hard time choosing the winners.
It was really hard to judge. I mean, so many good projects, so many awesome ideas.
Just imagine we have 5 projects tonight for 3rd place, so they're all gonna get the same reward. So we have Priva Health, Depth Design, Zero Transform, Private Healthcare, and Data Management. CAI, which involves creators to protect and monetize their unique creativity by licensing AI training models. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Number 3, Compensate Paul 3, Revolutionary Press. transforms how companies handle salary payments. Number four, private feedback, which aims to revolutionize the feedback process, delivering actionable insights while prioritizing user privacy and security. And number five, CBPD, stablecoin private transactions, introducing privacy focused transactions to their Chilean peso stablecoin. Congratulations to everyone. And coming into the second place, we have Chain introduces an innovative on-chain futures trading solution built on Sapphire and using Waffle, short for one-time technology. And the winner. Now we have the drums. Slowly. I have to do it slowly. It's attention. Oh, I got this squirrel. I know that. Great project, privacy first platform for seamless payment management powered by none other than Sapphire. Congratulations to everyone. I think that is
Yeah, I mean, definitely it was harder on your side because you had 4 prizes and we only have 3. So let's begin with the third place.
Thank you. Congratulations, Copyright Aware AI. There are also winners on the Sapphire track as well. Second place, computational data exchange. They are trying to address the critical need of having decentralized data sharing, which and let's talk about weather. Is it hot today or? All right, the winner of Ocean Track. Oh, Flow. They are trying to execute allowing users to execute data process, data pipelines, AI training using computer data version 2 of Ocean Nodes. What happened here? I think we have a party button. I think we do. Let's party, everyone.
Which?